rabid beast at a foolish feast. I'll steal your breath.
You made it. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming to an early session here at MozFest. I hope you guys all had a fun late night getting maybe sangria out, as Ben would say. Not sangria is fine too, but I hope you had a really fun first day of MozFest. I'm Bray Lamb. I am the executive editor of Mozilla Foundation's new editorial platform, Nothing Personal. If you go to the Mozilla website, Foundation website, you'll see it's our new magazine that is to drive creative thinking and independent thinkers. We also have an activation around the festival. If you see the vending machines, put in a token and spin really hard. This is our Nothing Personal game. It's a card game based on what big tech already knows about you. So you'll learn something, maybe have some fun, maybe ask one of your friends or someone you met here one of those questions. You might get an interesting answer. And without further ado, I want to introduce Ben Collins, who is the CEO of The Onion, and we are going to talk about why satire is important for the world, but especially important for the future of good tech.
Cool.
Welcome,
Hi, everybody.
Ben.
Hi, everybody. Like I was gonna say, we should talk real slow because I'm assuming like half these people are still drunk.
Okay. If anybody wants us to slow down,
Yeah, let us know.
Raise a hand.
There are barf bags in front of you, right in front of your seats. You're in good space.
There are not. I am so happy that you could be here.
I'm so excited.
All the way from Chicago.
Yes.
I met Ben because I randomly emailed him.
correct.
I read an interview with him, and I thought that what we were doing at Nothing Personal really fits the direction that he's taking The Onion. Someone on the internet, I saw this video on Instagram last night, said The Onion is an example of how the internet doesn't have to be bad.
Yes.
So we're here to dive into that, and then we will take your questions in the last 20 minutes. So think of some good questions for Ben.
Yeah.
You can ask him anything.
Or real dog shit questions.
Yeah.
Those
yeah,
are probably more fun.
He will answer those too.
Yeah.
So the theme is unlearning, as you know.
Yeah.
And let's unlearn the bad internet.
Yes.
For those of us, I mean, I've read The Onion since I went to school in Chicago,
Yeah.
like for many, many years, for decades. But for the uninitiated, give us a little background
Yeah.
about The Onion as a newspaper, as a digital, and then sort of the ownership and how you came
Sure.
to be the CEO.
Yeah. I won't be offended. I got to show of hands. People here know what The Onion is. Raise your hand. All right. Okay, holy shit. Okay.
All right,
well,
we're
then,
good. We're good.
Then the talk is over. We can just leave. This is amazing. So yeah, The Onion started as a campus newspaper at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. The school newspaper was called The Union, and probably put two and two together. Over time, it changed hands many times. At one point, it was a front for a sub shop, like a sub sandwich shop. That's how they made most of their money. And they started growing, and they realized that people on the radio were stealing their bits. Like the guy from the guys from Car Talk were stealing their bits. So the Onion was one of the very first news publications online. Every Monday they would drop their whole newspaper on the internet because they wanted the radio to stop stealing their fucking jokes. And somehow they've become, over the last 37 years, like ahead of the game on pretty much every digital development that happened. Now, that's completely a mistake. It's not on purpose. And in 2001, the Onion moved. They were in Chicago for a minute after Madison, and then they moved to New York City in August of 2001, which was a rough time to move to a place. And the very first edition of The Onion that was free, it used to be free on every street corner that you could find, was a week and a half after 9/11. And it was a masterpiece. And in hindsight, there's no fucking way it shouldn't have won a Pulitzer. It's amazing. It's our most prized possession. And it really, we were able to tell a joke at a time when no one could tell a joke. And since then, we've become the place that does that. We kind of say the unsaid sentence in American life when everyone's afraid to tell that joke. And we are certainly back in that fucking moment right now, guys. Holy moly. People are afraid to say true things, let alone fake things. So, yeah, but we stepped up. I kind of saw it all coming, and maybe maybe we could talk about that, how I ended up being a part of this charade.
Tell us your personal history and what you were doing before you became the CEO of The Onion.
Sure. So I worked at NBC News. NBC News was like the place, it was like one of 5 places you really wanted to work. You worked at the Wall Street Journal. That was like one of those places where you're like, I've made it in journalism. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
You're just going to like,
You were telling me you were
sandwiches.
like 15-year-old reporting on.
Yeah, I was like, when I was like 15, I used to like cover like Division III girls high school volleyball for the paper, and they would give me like $15, and I'd be like, sick, let's go. This is so good. So I was very happy to do that in perpetuity. And then, so I made my way up through the ranks of being a bad reporter, and then I was at the Daily Beast in 2015, 10 years ago. It was 10 years ago, 2 months ago. When a thing dramatically changed my life and how I view the world and how things happen. My friend's girlfriend was shot and killed on live TV. She was the first person to be killed on Facebook live. A disgruntled ex-colleague came and shot her in the face. It was the worst thing that's ever happened. And that was my college radio host, co-radio host friend's girlfriend, to-be fiance. And in the weeks after that, I started to like try to look through the internet to see how he was doing, my friend Chris. And the first things that you would see that would come up were things that said that he wasn't real, he was a member of the CIA, she was hidden away on an island somewhere or something, all this stupid shit. So I just started tracking these people for years. And those people are now what I would probably call the Pentagon. Those people wound up running the United States government, which was some fucking horseshit. I didn't like that at all. It's a really bad place to be. America's conspiracy theorists took over the world by their use of technology. They were out ahead of the game, and I covered them for years and years. And then, man, it's only been about 2 years. 2 years ago, around this time, may have been like today, I don't know, right around this time, I was covering Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter. And
Wait, that was 2 years ago?
yeah, it feels like 500 fucking years ago, but it was 2 years ago. And I was writing, I knew everybody inside that company, and they were talking about how he, was on suicide watch in his little cave at Twitter, and literally, by the way, like he was so upset that he couldn't make people like him by adjusting the algorithm. He was so certain that his problem with people was the algorithm. He saw all this stuff. So I was reporting on that, and I called into an office one day, and they were like, "You're suspended for covering for Elon Musk." And I was like, "No, I'm not." No, I'm definitely not, though. And then a couple days later, he started suspending all the reporters off of Twitter for being reporters. Ryan Mack, all these people that ended up writing books about him. God bless him. I can't write 3 sentences in a row, so good for those people. They wrote, 500 pages books.
Broadcast
Broadcast
journalist.
news, baby. So I just started like rattling off all the people that were suspended because they were calling me. They didn't know I was suspended. And they got very mad at me at NBC News. Holy moly. So that's when I knew I was on sort of borrowed time there. And then 5 months later or so, they had completely given up on me. It was really hard to get a story through. And I accidentally won this thing called the Walter Cronkite Award. And boy, did they hate that. Holy shit, did they hate that? Because they were done with me. In the meantime, Linda Yaccarino, who was doing all the ad sales at NBC News, became the CEO of Twitter. So I knew some fishy shit was happening. It was not great. I brought that up in my speech. I saw that my speech was going to be on C-SPAN. I asked my partner, I was like, I'm going to be unemployed in like 6 months, but I'm going to give this speech saying that shit's going down at this place. And I did. I gave a speech about how the media had been totally co-opted by people with a lot of money wrapped up in a lot of bad things. And that was it. It was over. My journalism career was over. And then in around January, I put in my notice because I knew I was getting fired. I put in my notice a couple days before Christmas, 2 years ago, and I was just going to write a book. And then I saw in Adweek that The Onion was for sale, and I was like,
And it had been owned by private equity at
It was
the time.
owned by private equity, and they did
Yeah.
everything they could to ruin it. So The Onion, for years, had been they got bought by Fusion or whatever that was
Univision.
called? Univision, right.
Yeah.
And they built all these things. So they had this cash infusion. They did a lot of cool stuff with it. And then it got bought by private equity that did everything that it could to kill this thing. But the staff of The Onion wouldn't let it happen. They are true believers. There's a woman on staff who has an engineering degree from Brown, and despite just being beaten over the head by people trying to get her to quit, she's just stayed. She's been there for a dozen years. Our editor-in-chief has been there for 28 years now. He was there during the 9/11 issue. These people just believed in this thing. So I started calling around when I saw in Adweek that it was for sale. If it was a fire sale, I was like, I don't have any money. I was a reporter. So like the most
That's true.
expensive
We
thing.
don't have any money.
Yeah, we do
Yeah.
not. That's
do
still
not.
not a thing that happens.
Yeah.
And the most expensive thing I had bought in my life to that point was a 2001 Mazda Miata, which I think cost $3,000. So
Congratulations.
I was like, I don't know how to buy a company or anything, but like, so I went on Blue Sky and I said, who wants to buy The Onion? I have $600. And a mutual of mine, Leela Brilson, who lives in Chicago, she was like, but seriously, like, how do we do this? Like, it's a Chicago institution. She's from Chicago. She just moved back. She had had a baby 2 weeks before she sent me this email. She was like, how do we do this? And I was like, I actually don't know, but like, we're reporters. We can figure out how to do this.
Yeah.
You just make a bunch of phone calls, right? That's all you gotta do. So we did. We made a bunch of phone calls. I called this woman, Danielle Sterlet, who ran Community at Tumblr when that was like turning all of America's teenagers into maniacs in the best possible way. And I was like, you know people who know people, right? And she's like, yeah, kind of. But all of us really loved The Onion. And I also called The Union because the reason The Onion was so inexpensive and had been beaten to the ground is because there was a rumor mill around it that said the Union couldn't work with them. Like they were gonna fucking, I don't know. So I was like, all right, I'm in a union. I'm pretty sure that's not true. I called the union head, the shop head there first person I called. And I was like, so what are your demands? They were going through a contract dispute. She was like, if something is AI, it should be labeled as AI. And we want to raise our salary floor from $35,000 a year. And I was like, I think I can convince a rich guy to say yes to this. And I did. Jeff Lawson, who had just got activist investors his way out of Twilio, had always been an Onion fan. He didn't know anybody who knew how to run a media company. So I went from being unemployed and writing a book about Nazis to owning being a part owner of The Onion and running it as the CEO in about 6 weeks. It was crazy. And all I wanted to do, and all Jeff wanted to do too, and Leela and Danielle, was just like, make this thing the best possible version of the thing that it is. And just with the hope that like, if we're the only publication not actively scamming people, maybe people will help us out. And it has proven correct.
I think what you described on your journey in terms of the crisis of faith,
Yeah.
and then turning that into something else
Yeah.
is something maybe all of us can identify with in our relationships with media. So it's not just media consumers that I think have this crisis of faith. It's also the people working inside media who are having crisis of faith. And so I think that that is really great that it turned out for you.
Yeah, I mean, like it was an insane thing to do. Like it was not normal. It was not. Don't do that. But like, this is not advice. I'm not saying like just upend your whole life. But this was a special company that I thought when we got it, it was entirely 75+% of the revenue came from Taboola ads. I don't know if you guys know what Taboola is, but it's just like the boner pill stuff at the bottom of, yeah. And it was just like saturating things. And they were, at request of the private equity management, making slideshows. So you would get the click and then a new string of boner ads would come through and then click again and then over and over again. My favorite Taboola ad was, it just said, "Meet Larry Bird's repulsive wife." And she's totally normal looking. She's like very regular. Larry Bird is a basketball player. People are okay. So we just immediately, we turned off programmatic advertising and we just went, we didn't have revenue for a full month when we started. And we said, what do people associate The Onion with? And everyone said the newspaper, right? That's what you grew up with it too, right? You would get on the side of the road and like, it was free and it felt like a miracle. Like when I was a kid, I didn't know that, like my politics, like me understanding that the Iraq War was bullshit came from a free fake newspaper on the side of the road. It came from The Onion.
And in many ways, I think it was the precursor to things like The Daily Show.
Yeah.
And people getting their news through The Daily Show, and there's podcasts sort of, mimicking that format as well.
It gave people a lot of permission to be like, actually, I'm not sure that these people on the news are telling me the truth about everything. Like, it just gave people the permission to think that way. So I think I wanted to bring that back. I want to bring that feeling back. And I was like, we can make a newspaper, right? So like, I would say 90% of our business is just being extremely naive about how everything works. There is a way of going through a bunch of vendors to get a newspaper printed, but we didn't know that. We called these people, we called a bunch of Polish guys up by O'Hare Airport that print like coupon daily things. And we're like, will you print this? And they were like, yeah, hell yeah, let's go. And they do. And like so we have a local printer who ships now 55,000 newspapers a month all throughout the world. We have people in over 50 countries and all 50 states getting The Onion. And last August we had 0. We did not have a newspaper last August. So that's, again, just being, well, yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, we just did what people asked us to do. All the ads in our newspapers are fake.
Not from Taboola.
They're not from Taboola. They're not real. My favorite one from the last paper was a BMW ad, and it said, "Move over, Subaru, we're the lesbian car now," which that was fucking perfect. Yeah, and we can just take risks like that, and it's great. It's a really nice time.
Well, tell me for the record, what number are you in terms of
we're
circulated newspapers in the United States?
This is bad news for the world. It's great for me. We're the number 11 most circulated newspaper in the United States. We're in between. Yeah, that's fucking right. That's right. We are in between the Chicago Tribune and the Boston Globe, which is, I want to tell you guys, And we're moving on up. Our goal next year is to beat the Washington Post, and it's they're making it pretty easy on it.
Like and subscribe, right?
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. So I read an interview with you and Oliver Darcy, and it was very funny. But the thing that really caught my eye in terms of the work we do at the Mozilla Foundation and our values is, I think in some ways, I'm going to paraphrase you because I can't remember verbatim what you said. Something along the lines of Onion being the conscience of America and saying what people can't say, and that you employ the 15 best sentence writers in America to write those sentences. True or false?
Very true. What we do is like unbelievably inefficient, and like if Jeff Bezos saw us, he would like shoot us with a gun. He would just like the biggest bazooka possible. Like we have our process is every day. I mean, we have 15-ish now, maybe more than that. Staff writers and a couple of artists. They click a room and they each come in with 10, 15 headlines. So there's usually like 150 headlines that go into this room, and then they leave with one or two, maybe. Some days they leave with zero. And
It is a really tough room.
it's like an impossible room to get. People walk in there every day and get their dreams crushed. Like it's straight up. And it's why you don't see us like dropping terrible stuff. Like it is the inefficiency is absolutely what we do. And then from there they do workshop headlines, and they workshop stories, and they workshop the larger ideas with videos and other like big stunty things, like maybe there should be an op-ed in the New York Times. Maybe it could be here. Maybe there should be on the side of a truck that we drive by a protest, maybe that sort of thing. It is the toughest room there is. And again, if we were abiding by LinkedIn brain, we would be completely boned. Like everything would be bad. But we have this like ancient process. It's like Coca-Cola. It works.
Also, for the record, do you plan on using AI at The Onion?
No, people yell at us. So we don't use AI for joke writing, which is good, and we don't use AI for art, which is good. I think we use it to do expenses. I'm not sure. Yeah, expenses. Round of applause, everybody. We just don't use it. And one time, so here's an example of how over it people are with this shit. We once had a story in the background. We do immense Photoshop work, obviously. It's hard to do our job without it because we try to make J.D. Vance look as easy as possible. But one time we had accidentally had AI in the background because our vendor for stock photos mislabeled something. Who knows? And everyone yelled at us. They're like, "I swear you can use AI." And I was like, "Look, guys, it's part of the rules. This isn't AI. It's got to be we did it ourselves." And I was so sure of it. And then we looked it up, and it was absolutely AI. It was 100%. So I looked like an asshole, and that was fine. And what I did was I immediately said, "We don't use this because artists are the people who make J.D. Vance look sickly are artists, and we need them to live." And I have not. AI has never made me laugh in any way, except for when it was like profoundly messing up and not doing the thing it was supposed to do. And just by admitting that and apologizing, we got more subscribers that day than we did like all month. Because people just, you guys, it has this go away energy. People just don't like this. They want AI to do their taxes. They don't want it to replace their writer friends and all these other things. It's been exclusively bad news for my life as a former journalist and person who sits around writers and artists all day. And it has flattened and made art worse in this country. And also, it's probably like the aesthetic of fascism. Like you look back at like Mussolini, and it was brutalism, and that sucks because brutalism is kind of cool. You look at this, and that's what it's gonna be. The weird uncanny valley, like rounded, like two beautiful faces, all this stuff. It's how it's gonna age. And I would jump ship while you can. And I'm sure some of y'all are. I'm sorry, but like, do something else.
Well, I want to chat. I want to challenge that a little bit because for some tasks and some things, I think AI does a really good job. And part of what we're doing at Mozilla is to think about ethical, community-led ways to use AI, build AI. But it sounds like to me, AI isn't helping with what your prerogative is at the Onion and what makes the Onion great. So on the same line as we were talking about how the Onion has the license to say what America is really thinking, how does AI fail at that?
Well, it's the synthesis of everybody's previously known thoughts, and good comedy is good satire is like this thing that you can really get your brain around. It's 1.25x the speed of light, and with your comedy is so rarely the synthesis of what everybody else has done. I'm not one of these people who's like it has no use case. I completely see it, and it's a tool. The synthesizer was a tool. Paul McCartney made a synthesizer album that was fine. Paul McCartney too has one good song on it, but then he moved on because he has like other instruments, and we have other instruments. And like I'm not against it fully. I think that at some point it might develop a utility for us, but at present it has laid off all of my friends and provided a straight sewage pipeline of propaganda to the worst people in the world. And until we get that figured out, I'm not going to.
Let's talk about your big subscriber days,
Yeah.
because I feel like that's when I love the Onion most. I feel like part of what keeps me on the internet, even though there is slop and there is, bad headlines and all these things, is humor. Personal, like I love the Onion. I love Reductress, for those who know it.
I need one of these. I'm sorry. Jesus. How long has that been going on?
You're loud enough
Can
that
I
we
take this thing? Who even knows what this is?
This is a I think you're loud enough that we can hear you.
Okay,
so,
cool.
but this is better. This is
Great.
better. I love Reductress. I've always loved, McSweeney's, like, it's motherfucking gourd season,
Yes,
all
of
of
course.
that, right? Classic. And tell me about your big sub days. And I think I remember, like, a lot of times I read the newspapers I read in my media diet, and I get really frustrated at how the stories are being presented, or things that are presented as an opinion that's not really fact-based. Like one recent example, there's also a lot of misogyny. Like there's a lot of headlines about women that I find
Are you thinking of one specifically from yesterday?
I am thinking of one specifically. It was in the New York Times. Not recently. I think it was like a year or two ago.
Sure.
But it's a classic example of like, wow, this headline. I think it was why women are ruining the workplace.
Yeah,
like
correct.
apparently women ruin lots of
Yeah.
things, but they're definitely ruining the workplace.
I think that's the quality bar. I don't know if you brought that in as a gag at the Onion, like people would be like, even as a bit that is not funny. So it's horrible. Like we have several different kinds of big days for subscriptions, and very frequently it's a protest vote against the New York Times or the Washington Post when they do something like that. People cancel their subscription. They're like, I'm done with this shit, and then they're like, I want something nice in the mail, and they get this thing. That's what I do want to like. I want to bring this up to you guys. There's a lot of technology that's being abandoned that is like really good still, and it's wide open space. That's like actually like what disruption is. I think like for example, last month we put out a documentary called Jeffrey Epstein, Bad Pedophile. Which
Okay, but are you sure?
yeah, we did the research and
Good.
we found out that he's not one of the
Fact
good
checked,
guys.
all of it?
Yeah, so we had a distributor for it, and then Charlie Kirk got shot, and then they got scared because Jeffrey Epstein has to do with Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has to do with Charlie Kirk. So that distributor was just like, we're not doing this. And I was like, I get it, but I also really kind of don't get it, but whatever. And then we were just kind of like stuck with this thing. we had a movie about how Jeffrey Epstein was on the 1997 Chicago Bulls, and like what the fuck are we doing? So then we basically said that to people. We're like, look, we were gonna put this movie out in all these theaters, and our distributor dropped us. Do you guys want to air this in your local cinema? And you guys can keep the gate. And within 48 hours, like 35, 40 theaters throughout North America were like, yeah. And almost all of them sold out, had to add extra things, add extra showings. People were just around and hanging out and having a good time. And that is like, that's still a good technology. Being around people in a place like this, watching the dumbest fucking thing you've ever seen in your life, that's a good technology. And like, it's just been abandoned. And all you gotta do is make some phone calls, pick up the phone and do it. So like, where we see space is, the newspaper guy by the airport, the indie theaters all throughout the country, and also a bankruptcy court where InfoWars was once for sale. Still trying, you guys. We're still trying to get it.
Last question, and then we'll talk a little bit about The Onion and nothing personal.
Sure.
But before that, because I don't want to follow the Jeffrey Epstein thing, tell me what are your feelings on people who might be reading The Onion literally? Like The Daily Show gets this a lot, where people are like, I get my news from The Daily Show. It's like my source of truth. And like, where is that line? And do you ever think about people reading The Onion literally and what to do about that, if there's anything to do?
Yeah, I mean, like there was a brief moment where we did own InfoWars for like 19 minutes. And but again, like I said, again, we will own it. And it became very clear to us that Alex Jones had never heard of us. And which was crazy. I don't know how that escaped him, but it did. So we have a fake CEO named Bryce Tetrader who wrote a thing about how he was going to turn it into like a puppy mill or something. And it took him until the very end of the press release for Alex Jones to realize that this was not a real press release. And we exist for that purpose too. Like, if you are a dum-dum and you don't understand what we're doing, like, we're very happy to get one over on you. No, it's important. It's an important part of American life. And also, I will say, there is a broadening consortium throughout the world of people under authoritarian governments and places where you can create composite characters of public figures, but you can't you can't be like Emmanuel Macron, I don't like you, and you fucked a dog or something. You can't do that. I don't know, is that even legal here? I don't even, he didn't do that, by the way. I don't think. But you can get weird with it. You can step in where the news can't say stuff that people are feeling and know. And that's really the power of satire. In America, it's literally called jester's privilege. It's like an extra legal defense that you can add on top of it. Well, they have a little bit more juice under the First Amendment for making fun of people. And as you guys know, we are living in a very rough time in the United States. I live in Chicago, and we've been invaded by people who dropped out of the 7th grade to play Fortnite 24/7. And it's very scary and very bad, and there are quite literally Guantanamo-like or worse conditions happening a couple of miles from my house at the Broadview Detention Center. Some of you might know this. My partner, her name is Kat Abou-Ghazaleh. She's running for Congress. She's much cooler than me. I don't know why the fuck I'm here and she's not. But she was just indicted by the federal government for protesting outside that facility. And for conspiracy to do so with 5 people she's never met. And they misspell her name all throughout the indictment, because that's our government now. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to disallow protests. They're trying to disallow speech they don't like. Because that's what weak and scared governments do. And that's what governments do when they think they have full capture of all industry. They don't, I hope. And I hope you guys understand that. And if there are people in your life who are in the tech world,
who work for the Alex Karps and the Elon Musk of the world, who think they've won the game and they think it's all over. Tell them it's not over. Like, people don't like what's going on, and I can tell you that because of the people who are canceling their Washington Post subscription because of evil op-eds in favor of putting asbestos back in buildings, or New York Times op-eds saying that women don't belong at work in any capacity. I can tell you that the Popular Front is not with these guys. I gave a little rally speech to our staff a couple days after there was that Donald Trump. It was Donald Trump in front of the 6 tech CEOs in that gilded ballroom, and I said, like, if the Onion is one thing, it's against the man, and I've never seen a more visible representation of the man in my life. There's just the 6 richest guys in the world, and the president in this gold ass. It's like disgusting to think about, and America doesn't like the man. The point of America is that we don't like the man. So that's what I thought. So there is an opportunity here. And as media gets truly hollowed out, and it is getting hollowed out, because at this stage it kind of deserves it, you guys in the room can create the next wave of things. It's so dark right now, and it's so scary. And that's when people with courage can go and create something genuinely new and different and big. And I hope you guys do it. And I hope you guys don't. I'm telling you right now, I have a lot of reasons to be afraid. My girlfriend could go to jail for 14 years for standing in the street outside of a concentration camp. And I'm not afraid anymore. So, yeah, like, go and do your thing and fucking make fun of people while you're doing it. It's so much more important to do it that way.
I think that is a great segue to our partnership, which
Yes.
is we have a partnership with The Onion at Nothing Personal. The column is called Superficial Intelligence, written by Louis Barclay, who I see right here.
He's fantastic and wonderful and funny, very, very funny guy.
Please check it out if you haven't. The first one is making fun of, all the technology we have and how it doesn't serve what we actually need. But I think what you were talking about with the tech CEOs got us talking about why nobody makes fun of these people.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the media capture, the revolving door, all of this. I think that there's a reason that big companies always hire journalists and hire media people, because they're hoping that the revolving door will help scare you, or that need for financial safety will help you not criticize them publicly and do your reporting a certain way. Why do you think there hasn't been as much tech satire as you would expect of an industry that's so powerful and so moneyed?
Well, it's because you're spitting into a fire hose. Like, they have the weapons, right? And they have the rhetorical weapons. They can just turn the algorithm onto you and just set their sights on you. I mean, Mark Andreessen said this explicitly. He said we have to turn our sights on one specific journalist and make an example out of them. And that person was probably, I'm just gonna be real with you, it was probably Taylor Lorenz. I know her personally. And then they just did it over and over again. The reason people don't do it is because if you buck the trend and go against these people, they feel like being humiliated is worse than death. And if you make fun of them, they will never let it go. That's why people don't do it. And that's why we have to do it more. There's more of us than there are of them. I know that it doesn't feel like that because of bot traffic and the fact that they own the pipes, and the fact that they own now they own things that appear legitimate, like the Washington Post. By the way, there are good reporters of the Washington Post. They do not exist in the op-ed section. Just letting you know that. You're fighting a war with you have a paper airplane and they have a bazooka, and you have to know that that's the case. But eventually there is a death by 1,000 paper cuts, and we have to do it now. We got to get together and do it. And I think it's imperative that we constantly say what we actually know is true. everyone knows these people are fucking dorks. That's it.
Okay, with that, I think that's a great introduction to Superficial Intelligence, which is our humor column edited by The Onion. I've had the privilege to sit in on these editing sessions, and it's a tough room, but it's really amazing, the kind of work you guys do with editing and taking every joke apart. I felt very uncomfortable, to be honest.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I learned a lot about what really goes into the work you guys are doing.
Yeah, there's a lot of like math to it, which you don't realize until you're in it. Like there's a PowerPoint for like how to every single word that's in. There's called a nib, which is in news and brief. It's like usually a paragraph, and there's a I think it's like a 75-page PowerPoint for every single word, every verb, article, preposition that goes into it at each level. There is like a lot of math to this. And then there's, as you know, we also print headlines like the one from yesterday with it said Mike Johnson, my version of Christianity is about not jacking off, not feeding the poor. And there's no math to that. That's just a guy who came into a headline meeting with that sentence. So there's both, and it's I'm so glad to help. That's the thing is we try to help like-minded individuals. We have this thing called America's Finest, which is a copy agency you guys work with, and it is onion writers. It's current onion writers, and it's also onion writers who simply will not move back to Chicago and be in the room because it's cold as hell 7 months out of the year, and they are like the Hall of Fame onion writers, and they help people like Mozilla make things just, even if they're funny, they make them funnier, or they just get them over the line, or they make tremendously unfunny things funny. So that's much harder. It's a lot easier working with you guys because you guys are nice people who are funny and have been around journalism and know the rules. But we've worked with some tremendously unfunny concepts before. We almost partnered with the Everytown to buy Infowars, the gun violence thing. I have no idea how we were going to pull that off. I don't. So there's just we're grateful to work with people who understand it.
I love that you guys are taking the funny beyond text.
Yeah.
You're also doing funny things, because you owning Infowars would be funny, I think.
We're still working on that. Our whole thing is we try to show up in weird places, and we try to, when things are really down in the dumps, we try to bring people out. We bought Infowars 8 days after the election, and nobody, I remember that time, nobody had any hope anything positive could ever happen ever again. Turns out they were right, because they got overruled by a judge who said that we didn't pay enough for it, which why, it's just worth nothing. Why would you want this? But we're still working to get it, and so we can pay these families, the victims, the San Diego families, some money for all they've gone through. And we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's our goal is to always show up in weirder and new places, including especially your mailbox, which is otherwise filled with the IRS.
Well, thank you for showing up here
Yeah, of course.
in Barcelona with all of us. Let's take some questions from the audience. Who has a question for Ben? Can we get a mic over right here?
If this is a smart question, we'll be very upset. All right. Yes. Let's go.
I don't know if you've seen the stuff that Everyone Hates Elon is doing and led by donkeys, stunty things that I think piss off Elon Musk and other people quite a lot, but I think we're a little bit more safe here doing that, potentially. But my question was, I feel like just seeing the crazy stuff that the White House is doing on social media, they've sort of caught on to the fact that people like satire and comedy, even though I do not want to call what they're doing that. And my question is, what do we do about that?
I think the only positive aspect of this is truly cruel comedy has limits. We go through these phases, especially in American life, where like in the late 80s, early 90s, like being extremely mean and misogynistic was like the cool, like Andrew Dice Clay kind of thing. And George Carlin was around at that time, and he said that this stuff just isn't funny and isn't going to last, and he was correct. It was like an 18-month wave. And we are kind of like at the end of that 18-month wave. Right now, previously there were two big comedy scenes. There were LA and New York in America. And they got either priced out or their houses got affected by the fires or something. But these people have had to leave, especially New York. So if you're racist, you go to Austin, and if you're not, you go to Chicago. And we're very lucky. Like, we're very lucky to not have that. But the Austin scene is like the Joe Rogan owned comedy club, all that stuff. Like, it had its moments, and it does not. You're not gonna believe this, but racist jokes don't have legs. It's one fucking joke over and over again. And people will get tired of it because it just looks like cruelty after a while, because that's all it is. Like, actual satire, actual comedy writing, it like evolves and does weird things and gets really strange and leans on people who are affected by that cruelty. Bites in a much bigger tent. So I am hopeful and helpful. I'm hopeful in general that wave is ending, and I think you can kind of get the vibe from people like, oh, I've heard that joke before 500,000 times at this point in the last few years, and it was towards a political end, and I didn't know that at the time. I think that's a big thing that's changing, and I can feel it. I can't quantify it, but I can feel it on a day-to-day basis.
I have to add to that, which is what gives me hope that things can change, is Gen Z. There's all these stories about how they hate the show Friends. You guys remember Friends from the 90s? I watched it religiously. Like every Tuesday, I turned on Friends. It was like prime time, and I laughed, and I talked about it with my friends, and we were obsessed with it. And then I rewatched it, and I didn't find it funny. I realized I'd changed. So that gave me hope that we can all evolve in our humor, and that this kind of humor that isn't quite right but was cool at the time, it can change.
Yeah, like we're also not like black box. Like we evolve, and the comedy evolves with it. Like a joke from 1995 shouldn't be funny now. Like inherently, like that's like if it is, it's a really good joke. But I bet you it's not about how one specific race or women or whatever are bad. So like we evolve, and like we try to evolve with it. The Onion itself is a living and breathing object. We're very different than we were 20 and 30 years ago, and if we were just still telling those same jokes, we would be a different website whose name I'm not going to bring up right now.
But you do have one joke that you guys repeat.
Yes, we do.
You do have one, and it always hits. It hits me hard.
Well, it's because nothing's changed. The joke is, there's no way to stop this, says only a nation where this regularly happens. We printed it 39 times now, I think, and it happens every time there's a mass shooting, we print this article. And the only thing that changes is the date line, where it is. So that joke still has resonance because it's still happening all the time, and it really is the only country where we have just mass murder on demand. It's not good.
Another question over here.
When I was at The Economist a dozen years ago, we used to play The Onion in softball in a media league in New York.
Oh, you probably whooped our ass.
They were always drunk, and they always killed us.
What?
It's true. So...
I always say like the most underreported media story of all time is like that High Times is like the
High Times was the champion.
they
so
win
good.
all High Times the weed magazine has like performance enhancing weed. And they win every media league in every sport.
My question is actually, you went from disaffected reporter to the boss. So maybe a silly question, but what have you learned about management? How's that been going?
Oh, good question. Yeah, I've been an editor, but I'd never handled ramp charges before. So that was, it's a different job. It's like a very different thing. It's mostly about keeping morale up and making sure people are doing what they want to do. Like, especially with The Onion, it's clearing brush for people and getting them through the jungle that is a very weird, tenuous comedy scene right now. And also, like, a lot of my job is like carnival barking. Like I just have to, I'm literally selling a newspaper. Like that's most of our income in 2025. And we're doing good, but it's like a lot of, we have to be in really weird spaces. And it takes you take a lot of risks, and they're very calculated risks. But it's a very different job. It's making sure that people are emotionally okay enough to write jokes, and that once the jokes are fully there, that they're in the right place in the world. It's like my job used to be calling neo-Nazis on the phone, and I will say this is a better job. Yeah.
Another question. Anyone? Over here.
Oh.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean, I think we're more affected. I think we're more affected than a lot of newspapers right now. We were just talking about this, but like, newspapers come to us and ask us like, how do we do it with our headlines and stuff? Because our engagement is insane. Not that this matters. We're the largest account. We're the largest account that isn't AOC on Blue Sky, right? We have insane hit rates on Instagram and stuff because we really do distill each day in American life down to a sentence. And these other places refuse to do that for a litany of reasons. Maybe they're good reasons. But in a lot of ways, people ask us what our competitor is, and it's like the New York Post. Like they're making shit up, but like they're just like a little bit less funny than us. In an evil way. It's what we do is firmly part of telling the truth right now, especially when other places just won't. Like, again, there's just a lot of reasons to not do it. But great question.
I have a question.
Hi.
Also, Gen Z, and I like Friends. I think Friends is funny. Maybe that's But I feel like, specifically with buying InfoWars, I feel like that's a really good example of like direct action can actually be really funny and silly and like do a good thing. And I know that like with the folks at the organization that I work at, Gen Z for Change, we used to do a lot of very silly things like fill in like an anti-CRT tip line with like song lyrics and lines from the B-movie, and it was great. It's obviously a very different terrain now where like people in a frog costume or people who like slap an ICE agent with a sandwich get hit with like a federal charge.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering like how we can, especially in new tumultuous circumstances, take that direct action like funny, silly ways and still like stay sane.
It's a good question. I mean, like, we have lawyers, which is very nice. I like lawyers. They kind of keep us in bounds. Turns out they made us not say the word space pervert in an email earlier today, which is unfortunate. But look, I agree with you. Like filling up anti-CRT tip line, that is precisely what you guys should be doing, and people should be doing writ large. I think the really good news is, for us, the barrier to entry for making news right now is really low. The right has like newspapers aren't even interested in it because like making too many waves gets them kicked off Air Force One and that's all they care about. So they need somebody else to do stuff in public. And we exist on earned media moments. Like our biggest subscriber days are the day we bought InfoWars, the day we put something in the New York Times, the day we sent a plea to everyone in Congress to just sit there and do nothing. We sent it to every member of Congress. If you do stuff like this and you get it out there in the right way, you can take over a news cycle like instantly. And it's like buying a Super Bowl ad. Like it's such better marketing for what you're doing, and it's also in itself like editorial. Like we're doing this stuff because we're going to do it anyway. you may as well just throw it in a weird place, and since it's in a weird place, it also counts for marketing. So I keep doing shit like that and find like nooks and crannies, and this audience is like perfectly primed for this. I keep saying this, like the best thing to be right now is a technologist that just isn't like fully obsessed with trying to make an LLM like your boyfriend. It's just like there's so much space for you guys to take over the world. Like everyone is like the bad guys are stuck in this bubble. Other bad guys are trying to like drone strike dogs. Like the amount of space for people who have new and good and big ideas, guys, like you can just slide right in. I really truly believe we do this with like 1/1,000,000th of the budgets, I don't know, of like the New York Times or Washington Post. And we are just constantly in the news. And it's because we're like, where are people right now where are these places that are being underserved? And we can just show up.
I think the scarcity problem is actually very, relevant here, is that people are so hungry for this.
Yes.
And there's a scarcity of comedy and good jokes and funny things in the world. And so if you make something really funny, people are like, this is what I've been waiting for. This is what's helping me, through my day or on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't have to just be funny. Like maybe that's not your angle. Maybe you write like sick ass poetry or something. I don't know. But the avenue to get your stuff seen right now is very available by using the stuff that people actually use and not speculatively what people want you to use. It's just been really helpful for us, and we're lucky to have that.
Be bold.
Yeah.
Be bold.
Other questions about?
I think we can take one or two more questions. Over here, then over here.
And by the way, I'll just hang out afterwards if you guys want to talk one-on-one. If you want to like give me your social security number or something. And
Hi.
Hey, thanks so much for the talk.
Sure.
It's Harry from Time.
Hi, Eric.
Some of the stuff you mentioned, particularly with your girlfriend, is really serious. Things
Yeah.
are dark right now. How, with everything that's going on, do you get into and stay in a satirical frame of mind and not just kind of find yourself going into a more serious tone?
I mean, the good news is the joke writers are the joke writers. I don't get in their way in any way. I just let them do what they do. There was a staffer who, around the InfoWars time, just told me, she was like, "Man, I'm just letting you know, I'm not brave." And I was like, "All right, you can write entertainment stories. I'm gonna, it's not going to be for everybody." And I think the good news is like coping mechanism provides catharsis to them to be able to like bring this down to a joke. Which at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff is just really super farcical. But it is, humor comes out of fear sometimes. And humor comes out of these really, you got to keep going somehow, and this is how you do it. Kat is one of the funniest people I've ever met. She used to make funny videos on the internet. Now she's running for Congress, and all this stuff is happening. And we get through it by doing bits. That's it. And that's how, through various revolutions throughout time, especially recently, you get through it with bits. You get through it by doing the most absurd thing possible, because the thing that gets despots the most upset and gets them derailed is mockery. They can't handle it. So to stop making fun of them is to give them exactly what they want. Yeah.
I think that highlights how not just great it feels to laugh, but that our laughter is powerful.
Yeah. Exactly.
One more? Ben? Ben to Ben.
Ooh.
Mozilla Ben for
There can only be
Onion
one.
Ben.
Hi, I'm also a Ben.
I'm so sorry.
Once an industry becomes so powerful that it can be stupid and do stupid things in like such a frictionless way, like they don't have to pretend to hide it anymore, how do you ridicule something that is fundamentally ridiculous?
I think the sad news about like mainstream press right now is opening up brand new avenues for us to make fun of them. Like they're opening up new adventures in being stupid. So that's not hard. Like the really hard thing to do is like now, like we have to figure out a way, because the way most people who are under 30 consume the news is like if they see CNN, it's like a clip that they kind of see, so like jumping in on it, or it's, you know, they think that whatever Joe Rogan asks his guy to bring up on the thing is news, and that's been a challenge for us, and that's where we have to look to next. That's the really hard part, is trying to make fun of these people who aren't news, but that's how people consume the news, because those people are so like inherently caricaturized to begin with, that to create a character is difficult. I think we've threaded some needles recently internally. I will say that's kind of the point of where Infowars is or was heading. It's the fact that everything is a scam. Like everything is at the end of the day meant to sell you, Boner Max 5000, and that's kind of like the American economy is just like gambling in that. We have some ideas for that, but like in terms of making fun of the news right now, that's not hard. Yeah.
Well, Ben, thank you for being in Barcelona and spending time with us.
This is so great,
this
guys.
morning.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Please take care.